This is SCP Radio Network coming to you live from Skylab Studios. Up next is Latinas Rising.
Good evening.
Buenas noches. How is everybody doing out there?
Hope you have your tea, because it's tea time, or your water, or cafecito, so you can join us this evening. We have some amazing guests this evening. Of course, Edna is going to share a little bit more about that and the details. But we're truly excited about the speakers that are going to be on tonight. And they are doing some amazing work in the community. And so actually before we got on air, Edna and I were talking about this awesome quote from Audre Lorde: "Without community, there's no liberation." And so let us come together with our passions to form, create, develop a community to liberate ourselves and others. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. Ways that we're in the community to not only liberate ourselves, but to liberate others that are voiceless, right? And so it may be a little heavy this evening, but very educational, and knowledge is power. So Edna, who are we having this evening?
So tonight we're going to have two special guests. One, her name is Amber Kamek. She is a local activist. She's going to talk about missing persons and human trafficking, which are very powerful, strong topics for tonight. And also we're having Kelly Fuchek. She's going to be talking about her heart stroke that she had around 32, I think. Heart health, stroke awareness, and self-care. So that's going to be impactful for tonight. And these are local people that are here in Houston, actually.
And they're actually going to call in. So Amber will be calling in at 8:10, and we'll be talking to her about 20 minutes, and then eventually we'll take a break and we'll go into the following topic with Kelly. And so, we were preparing for this, and we were able to connect with Amber, which this lady is doing some work, like undercover work. She's in the trenches, very knowledgeable, like private investigator, in your face. And so, but this topic is very close to you and dear to you as well. You've done some work regarding human trafficking and sex trafficking, or the two. Because we can't just say human trafficking, because that's very broad.
Right.
And so
there are people sometimes confuse human smuggling and human trafficking. They think they're one and the same, but actually human trafficking is illegal exploitation of a person.
Okay.
And human smuggling is illegal movement of a person across the border. So they might be similar, and they kind of intertwine with each other, but there are two separate things. So actually, according to Homeland Security and statistics, human trafficking is modern slavery. It involves the use of force, fraud, coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial act, or actually including domestic servitude. So it could be, people think that only human trafficking is sex, it's about sex, but no, people are used for labor, people are used to work, they're tricked to do a service, and it's never what they really say.
Yeah. And so some of I've been to trainings as a clinician and things to look for, and been informed of more statistical information. And one of the things that when we've heard real stories, it's like this debt. There's always this debt to pay, and the individual never really pays this debt off, right? And so that's how this person's keeping having to work and like the servitude, basically.
Yes.
And so what got you into, how did this become a passion for you as well?
Well, I worked in shelters for domestic violence, sexual assault for a long time, over 12, almost 13 years. And through those doors, I've always met different types of people from different walks of life. And through those different type of people, there were people that were trafficking or trafficked. In particular, there was one person. She was from a country in Africa. Had her home, children, grandchildren, known in the community. And she had an opportunity to come to America because she used to take care of the children. She used to take care of children for someone that was in her neighborhood. And they moved to America. And they asked her to come. And she said, sure. You know, they told her, this is how much we're going to pay you. These are the things you're going to do. And they gave her a 9 to 5. You're going to be free weekends. Anyway, they painted her a really nice picture. Mind you, she was working for them for some time. So these weren't strangers. So they were able to get her passport, able to do the documentation she needed to move here. Girl, when they moved here, she came. They moved first. She came after. And for about 2 good years, she took care of these children. 24/7. The sense of not only taking care of the children, but she cleaned the house, she cooked for them, she took care of their friends' children. She catered parties, she took care of the cleaning, the cooking. I mean, you name it, that's what she was. She had a room for herself, but it was always violated because people were sleeping there. Anytime they needed her 2-3 o'clock in the morning, she had to be up. And it turned into an abusive type of situation. And the way she came through our doors was because she was at the doctor one time, at the emergency one time, with a broken finger. And that was her way of saying, I need to get out. And she told the nurse, this is what's happening, this is what happened to me. And they immediately stepped in and were able to transport her to the shelter and work with her. We worked with her for a while because it was really hard for these people, because they don't have connections, they don't have family here, they don't have money. And the money that they said they promised her, they never gave it to her. So this is just one story that came in through our doors with many, many, many more.
You know, I actually want to give a little feedback on Amber, because one of the things you and I were talking before we came in is that because we're going to be talking about missing persons as well, it doesn't discriminate, right? It doesn't discriminate in missing persons and human trafficking, right?
It doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a socioeconomic, it doesn't have an ethnicity, it doesn't have it.
No. And so one of the things that people need to know about Amber, and I'm going to read this, and I know we posted it on Facebook about the work that she's doing. And she's actually the founder of Houston's Voice for the Missing, and has specialized in missing persons and human trafficking investigations for over 10 years. Amber has successfully worked hand in hand with authorities throughout the United States to help bring home countless numbers of missing people, to bring down several major trafficking rings. And we know Houston's a huge hub, right? And so not only has she done that, I didn't even realize, in maybe my ignorance, she's also working like black market adoptions.
I saw that.
She's involved in those cases, but also cases of maybe a parent that has taken a child to another country, or there's some type of divorce, there's some type of separation. She's actually been able to reunite families together. And she's worked very closely with law enforcement, DPS, local police, the FBI, and Homeland Security. And she has an extensive background in doing this work. Not only is she's like literally going undercover when she's doing this. And she's going to talk to us this evening. And when I tell you, she is like knowledgeable and very humble, and has just very open about awareness and advocating.
And you know what? That human trafficking is a world problem. So if it's worldly, it's affecting us nationally.
Correct.
So if it's affecting us nationally, it's affecting our cities.
Correct.
It's affecting our neighborhoods. And guess what? If it's affecting our neighborhoods, it's probably happening in the house across the street. It's probably happening in the apartment that's next to you. Some people don't really know too much about it or even care about it because it's not affecting them. But have you ever thought about the girlfriends that your friends are having at school? You don't know if they're being groomed. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what conversations they're having. Have you thought about the crew that your son is hanging out with? You don't know if they're groomers. And tonight, she is going to talk about these details that we don't really think about. But she's going to get into these details that we need to know.
Absolutely. When I spoke to her today, she shared about how, I'm not sure if it's 2016 or 2017, either 2016 or 2017, there was 9,000 plus missing persons reports. That's in Houston.
In Houston alone.
Correct. I want to say Harris County, right? And so my conversation with her, and I really wanted to discuss with her, like, the disparities, right? Our media and how certain cases are maybe being reported differently or not reported via the media. Okay. And so I think she's calling in, so I'm excited to have her come in. Yeah. Okay. And so
this is live, y'all.
It is very much live. And when I spoke to her,
hello, this is Amber speaking.
Hello, Amber.
Yeah, hey, how are you doing?
We are excited to have you. We were just chit-chatting before you called in, and we were giving our listeners some feedback on who you are and the work you're doing, and we're truly, truly excited to have you on the line and pick your brain and become more knowledgeable and educated, right, on this.
That's what it's about. Knowledge is key, and awareness is key. Are we live right now?
We are.
Oh, okay. Hope to start lining there. I didn't know if you had to patch me through. Because, well, thank you guys for having me out. And so welcome. It's an honor. Where would you like to start?
So, how did this become a passion for you? You can give us either the long version, the short version, but whatever you think is best.
To sum it up, I grew up with missing people. Like, people just... I'm from a small county, East Montgomery County, actually, and people just vanished over there. And, growing up, it's like friends just, still to this day, they're still missing. And no one ever looked for them. No, everybody was scared to speak out during that time. It was actually the time of tons of corruption on the streets. Anyways, the feds had since, busted in there in like 97, and cleared up a little bit of it, So people were scared to speak out. So I just grew up with missing people, and people just vanishing in my own neighborhoods, friends, kids that I played with. When I was when I was an infant, I don't remember her myself, but the fear was in my family. But I also had my own cousin was kidnapped and raped and murdered up in Illinois.
Wow, sorry to hear that.
And so yeah, like, it was a very real reality to me. And so I guess the main thing that motivated me was the fact that, we were from a poor area, and the area I was from, the people just did not have it in them to speak out. They didn't know they had the right to speak out, or they were, silenced out of fear. And that had always irked me, and I refused to be quiet, and I knew something could be done. So I took what I grew up with and applied it to work on the right side of the law, versus what everybody, I went a different path than my peers, the ones that were left. And it's, I'm thankful for that. But, yeah, so like I said, I just grew up in the corruption and missing persons world, like literally. It was just a reality to me. And, like, I didn't know what normal little towns were growing up. I had to learn that after I became an adult and had my own children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you have been doing this work as far as human trafficking. And earlier when we spoke, you were like, well, Tasha, there's more to just human trafficking. And you talked about how this idea that's trendy just to say human trafficking, but there's more to that. There's sex trafficking. And so tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, definitely when someone brings up human trafficking, it is like the cool word these days, like the word gang was in the 90s, and it's the end thing to say. But there's so many different aspects to human trafficking. Like you said, there's sex trafficking. My main focus is sex trafficking of minors.
Okay.
Throughout the country, and even over the country lines, borders, especially the border between Mexico and Texas. Okay. I work with a lot of, Mexico locals and these little villages, and all the way up to El Salvador. They reach out. Mm-hmm. Thank God for Google Translation, because I do not Spanish, even though I would love to. But anyways, I was able to translate their flyers for them, and but it all started pretty much when, tons of girls from Central America were being trafficked over here. I started reaching out, trying to find their families, see if they were even still alive. A lot of them were from high cartel areas, and I was just trying to help these girls once we recovered them. And then I found out, once I started talking to some of the locals there, and I'm in Mexico or other places, mainly Mexico, that there were also American girls over there. And so randomly you'll see me, post a girl, and I usually don't say where she's at, or, I may say Mexico, I may say the country or whatever, it's an American girl, trying to identify the girl, and vice versa in Mexico. So that's why I'm in all the Hispanic groups. I have to copy and paste the translation a lot, but I make it work. So, but yes, it's pretty much, I do a wide variety of things.
So what's the average age that's being trafficked for sex trafficking?
Anywhere between 12 years old to 14, I would say.
Has there been anyone younger?
The National Center considers 13 to 14 years old, I believe. But I see 12-year-olds just as much as I see, and the 16-year-olds. And I know that sounds appalling because 12-year-olds are babies, but many of them are unaccompanied minors coming. Immigrants coming over they were just flat out kidnapped, their parents killed, and trafficked just right here on the street of Houston.
Wow.
And you say that there were American girls as well. So they're taking them from America and crossing the borders. How do they do this?
They just drive across the border. Nobody stops them. I mean, you've got to understand human trafficking would not exist if we did not have a breakdown in our law enforcement. Think about technology these days, okay? There is no reason why human trafficking should exist in this country, and one of the criteria is corruption. So, pretty much we've got American officials working with the federales, to believe it or not. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is fact. These guys are able to just, literally cross the border without getting stopped, because they have these, I forgot what they're called, but it's basically like a easy tag, but it's not called that. It's called something else, to where they can just drive across the border. They know which times to go, go and come. And, there's been several city Houston police officers, if you just Google it throughout the years, that have been caught offering escorts to cocaine cartel that were carrying, 18-wheelers full of drugs and girls. So it's only happening because we're allowing it, basically. It's like, it's not because we don't have the technology or the resources. It's just they're not utilizing the resources.
And Amber, since you mentioned the law enforcement, about a couple of weeks ago, I attended this event, and they had panelists talking about human trafficking. And there was, one of the panelists was Captain James Dale. He's from the Houston Police Department. And he said that there is a human trafficking squad here in Houston that focus on shutting down nail shops, massage parlors, strip clubs. Are you part of that, and what do you know about what the squad is
Once
doing?
again, I focus mainly on the ones that are forgotten about. So, yes, the massage parlors, they need to come down, but my focus are the juveniles, our children in the community. And, there is human trafficking in these adults. The massage parlors and stuff, those are mainly adults being trafficked. The minors, in our community, a lot of times they're off the Craigslist. That's where they're pimped out, or Backpage. They actually use Yelp now too. Pimps, they use Yelp, the business site.
Oh wow!
And if you ever go to a business and you notice that they have tons of friends but no reviews, and most of the people that are their friends on Yelp, you can see them. They're very obviously girls dressed very risque and stuff. It's prostitution. Ran across that the other day actually, but.
So tell us about Houston.
They don't ever concentrate on the juveniles pretty much. Like I said, they both need to shut down, but I'm not trying to sound like I'm against law enforcement. I'm not at all, but I just know that I have video of driving 2 hours after they claimed they did a media release claiming they shut down one salon. you drive past that, they're up and running again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tell us
they're
about...
They're not really ever shut down. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Tell us... We know the passion's there, so no worries. Tell us about how Houston's a hub. I know earlier when we talked about you were complete not having any awareness, but the ship channel and how that has been one of the go-tos right now, or maybe for a while. And so even the 1960 area, I know that is known for being a high concentration. So tell us a little bit more about...
I mean, Houston's not just a hub. I mean, we are number one in this country for human trafficking.
Okay.
We have, mainly because of the ports, like you and I were talking about earlier, the ship channel. What people don't realize is they're not really dispersing them throughout the country. They're wrong. Some of them do go in the 18-wheelers, the typical, the stereotype that you see in the movies and stuff on how they transport these girls. But now there's way stations and stuff like that. But most of them are actually shipped out, like up the rivers and stuff, like with the grocery produce and these like carback containers. There are actually cantinas all up and down the port. The river, up and down the river. The river goes all the way up to huge trafficking routes, Cincinnati, Ohio. There's another huge port out there. Just everywhere. Kentucky. They take the rivers, and like I said, just like the produce and other things that are bringing in from out of the country. They also bring girls and disperse girls throughout the country that way. And if they want to get a girl from Texas to Ohio, they'll take them to the ship channel. It's too much of a risk, to take them, especially if it's a large group.
How does missing persons and sex trafficking go hand in hand?
See, that's one of my big causes actually is the fact that people separate the two, and in all actuality, they're one and the same. Have you ever known a human trafficking victim that wasn't considered missing?
No.
It's like, and what is the number one sign of human trafficking when it comes to a child? It's a repeat runaway. So a runaway is technically considered a missing person. That's just a label they give. And, I hate labels. I don't think that should be there because either way, they're children and they're being preyed upon. And, but yeah, they definitely go hand in hand. I think it's part of the problem that they separate human trafficking and the missing persons department because they're both one. I think the perfect justice system would be narcotics, human trafficking, and missing persons all in one.
That is scary just to know. And before you called, Amber, Tasha and myself were talking about how close it is to our home. And people could be oblivious of what's happening around them because if this doesn't affect them personally, then not fault to their own, but, they're not really involved. How can you tell us, people that really are not aware of what's going on with human trafficking and missing persons, what will you tell them? Particularly what's happening on social media, what are the avenues that these people are looking to target, who are they looking to target, and also talk a little bit about who are groomers, since you're talking about children and the juveniles.
Okay, well, I'll start off with the groomers. Groomers can be anything from a child to a boyfriend, or, it can be a female or a male. So people don't realize another kid in your child's high school, they basically are paid to bring the human traffickers, the pimps, girls. A lot of them, introduce them into drugs or whatever, and some of them just go and convince them to go to a party. This is just one example. Hey, come to a party with me, over at my buddy's house. He'll get us all the beer we want, free beer. The girls get there, and they're, forced to shoot up heroin, and that's when it starts, and then gang raped. And, some of them are, just gullible, and they take the heroin, not really realizing what they're putting in their body. Being a little bit of a rebel, but, children these days just aren't educated when it comes to sex trafficking, and it's so subtle. And who would think the girl sitting beside you in biology class is actually a human trafficker or working for them?
Yeah.
So we see that a lot. Anyways, like I said, it's all around us. It's not just in the inner city. It's, in the suburban area. You and I were talking about, the Latino communities, definitely 85 in the Houston area. They're like 85% of the missing. That's what they make up for. The Latino community make up for 85% of the missing, which is a lot.
Wow, that's high.
The majority of the unidentified bodies that have been found, there's tons of unidentified bodies, aging from children up to adults. The majority of those are Hispanic, and so, or from Central America in some way. It's, given where they come from, when they migrate here, the families, some of them don't report them or they're too scared to report them, whether they have family in Mexico, and we all know the cartel's running Mexico, and, the cartel basically tells them money or lead. That you're either going to make money or keep your mouth shut, or your other child that's, 13, 14, or whoever it may be, the grandmother, will kill them, and they're serious because they will. The thing is, though, is there are resources if they speak out. There are people out there that can help, myself included. I have, contacts. These people naturally fear the police, but it's they have to speak out, because if they don't, it's only going to continue to get worse, and their children are going to continue to go missing. And one of the biggest things on getting them back is the human trafficker doesn't like the child, whose face is everywhere, and a lot of times they'll just make them go because they don't want that heat. So definitely circulating flyers and getting your kid's face out there is a life-saving tool to use, and we all have social media. It's an amazing thing this day and age. So, but yeah, I cannot stress enough that for parents, all parents, ex-missing persons does not discriminate, but all parents, make sure you have a photo of your child, not an Instagram photo, with the little filters and stuff. Have a photo of your child and, a profile and a front-facing shot. And actually, if you go to National Center of Missing Exploited Children's website, or even our website, Houston'sVoiceForTheMissing.com, we have child safety kits, which you can just print it out, the form, and take their fingerprints. That way, if they're ever trafficked or they go missing and, they get caught in a feint, a lot of these girls are using aliases. Police don't know any better, so they're being arrested and then let back out. They're lying about their age.
Yeah, you've talked about a lot of vulnerabilities as far as, people migrating, or if they're immigrant, if they're have migrated here to the U.S., or let's talk about foster kids, the vulnerability if they're runaways, if they have a history of running away. Those risk factors go up. And so I know you've shared with me that there's ways to find out, and you were able to find out how many calls, particularly of foster kids that ran away. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. Back in December of 2016, there were 87 children that went missing from the Chimney Rock shelter off of Little Rock, the CPS shelter. And 6 of those girls, I know for a fact, were trafficking victims. And those are the 6 that the parents had contacted me, even though their children were in custody. And so that's another thing. I can't stress the parents enough that if your child's in CPS custody, you still have the right to advocate for them. But, they're literally just losing it's a one-stop shop for a sexual predator or a human trafficker. You can go to the shelter at any time. You see children walking in and out. One of the girls that went missing it was December of 2016. We had found her in 2017 around February in a motel room. Thank God, it was Super Bowl time, and we were able to get the feds. They were just kind of stationed in Houston around then. And they busted in this motel and got her back. But, she was 12 years old. They took her from her mother for having behavioral issues. Instead of offering mom resources, mom went to them for help. Stuck her in the shelter downtown, and she was missing within the first 24 hours, and it was another child who actually lured her out and enticed her to leave. And they just turned their heads, and I can't tell you how many recordings I have of them telling me that they don't, they can't make them stay there. And I'm like, okay, well then, why are you taking them from the parents? What do you mean? You can't make them stay there. And so they said they're not a lockdown facility. They're just letting them go, and temps literally are stationed out, like I said, broad daylight. It's in plain sight. It's shocking when you just drive by there and look, because they're not trying to hide it. It's craziness.
So Amber, I'm curious to know, who do you collaborate with? Who calls you and say, let me help you out? What do you need? What support do you need so we could work together?
Yeah, we have a team of volunteers, from various backgrounds, and it just depends on, you know, who's available at the time, you know, what case we're working. And but yeah, I mean, we have everybody to, I mean, we've gotten a lot of our intel, honestly, from staking out motels. And there's times that we've gone out looking for one girl and come across another one that we didn't even know was missing. So I know I'm getting off subject here, but yeah, I mean, we, like I said, we just take volunteers, you know, as long as you're not a pedophile or don't have any kind of history of trafficking, you know, on your background, then yeah, I mean, we need your volunteer work. We are 100% volunteer, and none of us get paid. It's yeah, so I mean, but we've got really an amazing team. Honestly, we've been able to really, really this past year we've saved a lot of lives. I've got to say that, but it's kind of sad though because they never prosecute the guys.
And do you have people that are helping you that speak Spanish and other languages to help communicate?
Yes, I have one named Edith Gonzalez, and anyway, she speaks English and Spanish. She actually lives in Mexico, but I can call her at any given time and she will answer. And she helps a lot of the Mexico locals in her, I can't pronounce the village that she lives in, or little town. Anyways, but I know it's a like cartel area, but amazing person. And like I said, she's usually who I call upon, and I have a few other friends, you know. It just depends on who's available, what time it is. Sometimes it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I may need a translator, you know.
And what number do we call, or how do we contact you? So if someone that's listening to us really is passionate about what you do and they want to join you.
Well, you know what? You can, if you're wanting to join, you can send a text to actually 936-648-7222, or you can send an email to Houston's Voice for the Missing at gmail.com. You can also go to our website and submit an inquiry, which is Houston's Voice for the Missing.com. So and yeah, I mean, you can reach us all kinds of ways.
So that number was 936-648-7222.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Because that was really quick.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have a habit of talking fast, but
there's a lot of information you have
anyways,
to give
but
out.
my biggest thing is like in the Latino community. I know you guys have a lot of Latino listeners or Latino radio station or whatever, but is that come forward to the police, that they're not all bad, and you can contact us. There's also the National Human Trafficking Hotline that could connect you with a safe and secure resource.
And what's that number, Amber?
The Human Trafficking Hotline?
Yes.
I'm going to have to get it up. Sorry.
We're putting you on the spot. Anyway. A lot of numbers.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll get it. But anyways, but yeah, I mean, they will get you in contact. Even National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, you know, will get you in contact with a police officer that is safe, because, you know, they do have certain deputies that handle it. Mainly, if you express to them that you are not safe and there is, you know, you're scared of corruption or whatever it may be, they will connect you directly with a DPS agent versus local police, which they're amazing.
So let's say the police, we do call the police and they come out. I speak Spanish, but I am scared because, you know, there's some things that I can and do not want to express, such as, am I here legally? Are they going to ask me these questions?
You know, in this day and age, I couldn't, you know, in Houston, Gonzales and Harris County, I guess I should say, he doesn't. But I've got to be honest here that Montgomery County or some of the other counties, they're not the same, you know. There's a lot of controversy going on in this country, but I can guarantee you, though, if they stress to them that they are in fear for their lives or their child's lives, and they know information, that they will not. They can get state leniency. They can seek asylum at that point. So, like I said, they have to be able to articulate, you know, and really tell the police the entire situation and how endangered they are. So, therefore, they don't get deported or anything like that, because they're not going to if you have information about this crime and you're in fear for your life and you have legitimate information. I promise you they won't at that point. So like I said, you can seek asylum at this point, and there are programs for that.
Yeah, great. Tell us about, while you get the human trafficking hotline number, about the myths on reporting. I'm sorry?
I have the National Human Trafficking Resource Center.
Sure.
They speak all types of languages. So, I mean, anyways, it's 1-888-373-7888.
So 1-888-373-7888.
Yes, it's 1-888-373-7888. It's the National Human Trafficking Resource Center.
Tell us about the myths on reporting. When we spoke earlier today, I had this idea that you can't make a missing persons report until 24 hours.
Yes, so that's the people are told this every day by ill-trained law enforcement, and that is not true. Federal law actually, back in I think it was 2006, I believe, they passed a law to where it doesn't matter if it's been 15 minutes or 15 hours that your loved one's been missing, and it doesn't matter their age, if they're adult or child. You can report them immediately, and I definitely recommend that you report them immediately. Time is of the essence, and after you report them, if their ages 24 or younger now, National Center of Missing and Exploited Children will also take a case on them. Therefore, they can just call. It's 1-800-THE-LOST, and they will take the case report and start circulating a flyer too. And then, I suggest you look up other organizations like myself that are locally. There's several out there, and like First Search Priorities one that will actually get out there and start passing flyers and searching for your loved ones. And that's the next step, because the police claim they don't have any time or resources. I'm trying to pick my words wisely. I'm not trying to harp on them. But
why is time of the essence? Why is that essential? Making that immediate report, not waiting the 24 hours.
Well, because within 24 hours, you can be all the way across the country, and if it's a human trafficking case, within 24 hours, these children can be sold to, can switch hands 3 times, and it makes it virtually impossible to track them. But yeah, that's why time is of the essence, and or say somebody hurt your loved one or something, and you can still save them though, they need medical attention or whatever, and getting out there and passing the flyers, chances are people usually start calling in tips. Sitting back and waiting on police, you can't do that, because it's just dangerous. You can if you want to, but I don't recommend it. It's dangerous, and they don't have the time or resources. I think Houston has 5 missing persons detectives. Last time I checked, that's 5, and we are the second largest law enforcement agency in the country. Harris County, that doesn't include the city of Houston, receives anywhere from 30 to 50 missing persons reports a day. And so how they literally don't have the time or the resources to handle it.
Wow.
And so, like I said, it's not the deputies on the front lines' fault. I was actually talking to an old City of Houston officer yesterday. My kid's grandpa actually is a City of Houston police officer, a retired one. He was way back in the day before the Amber Alert program, they still had paper reporting, and he said it perfectly when he said that police these days, patrol deputies, they are report takers, and that's what they're trained to do. And so all they do are pretty much, they take the report, and it doesn't go past that. And another thing that's really important too, that parents need to make sure that once they file the missing persons report, not just parents, actually, people that are filing a missing persons report on an adult too, ask the police for their NCIC case number. That's the National Crime Database.
Correct.
The reason why I say that is that they usually don't enter it into the system, and these children don't get a NCIC number. Okay. Federal law mandates they're supposed to do it within 2 hours. So if you go ahead and ask them for that and pressure them to give you that number, then they'll go ahead and enter that child into the national database. And so that way, if they're picked up in any other town, then, say they're arrested in a if they're in human trafficking, arrested in a prostitution ring, and their parents will tell them to use a different name. Trauma bonding there, they'll lie to police and go under what alias the parent told them to do. And, you know, so, but when they're fingerprinted, if they have fingerprints, like I said, on the safety kits that you can print off, or say they do give a name, or, you know, the police just wants to search, then it will show up in the NCIC system immediately.
Yeah, so what we're going to definitely do is, I mean, one, we want to thank you for taking the time to call in, and because we can, 1 hour is not enough for this issue, right? And so it's not just a local, it's a national issue. And
definitely.
Yeah, and so what we definitely, I'll connect with you, and we'll post the information as to what sites to go to, especially for fingerprinting. You know, I'm thinking, I have a little one, and I've never even considered doing that, because we don't want to think that that could potentially happen to our family member or a relative. And so, but knowledge is power.
Child ID kit saves lives. Like you said, knowledge is power, and the mind frame of parents when their child goes missing, whether the child's their adult child or a, you know, underage child, they can't think. They're scattered. And so if they have all the information in one spot, you can list, you know, height, weight. I recommend doing, you know, a new one every year. And, you know, just taking a headshot. And like I said, you can find those on my website, and I'll send it over to you so you can post it on your site. And like I said, it's parents that have those, just go grab it, hand it to the police. Bam, he has everything he needs when it comes to that. And all he has to do is ask, you know,